But let me tell you, Tiffany and I went to the Essence Awards, and we met LL Cool J. We were so totally at nerds. Like, oh my gosh, I was just so dumb. First, we'd like to say thank you very much for giving us this interview, and we're very excited.
Great, thank you. No problem. I'm glad to do it. Definitely.
We're representatives from Peers Influence Peers, and we just heard you deliver that speech about stopping the violence. Well, we're trying to do the same thing, stopping teenagers from doing drugs.
Yeah.
What would be your message to these kids that are doing drugs?
It absolutely, without a doubt, will ruin your life. And, you know, as a musician making music for the amount of time I've been making it, I've never seen anyone stay successful that was doing drugs. And I've seen a lot of musicians, not naming any names, that were getting high, that were doing all types of drugs, and none of them ever lasted. And it'll just finish you off. You know, it'll ruin your life. You'll lose all focus, and what will start off as something that seems to be harmless will end up being life-threatening, you know? It'll ruin your whole life.
Now we know that you have a very successful acting career as well as a singing career. Now, has there been anybody who's been a role model to you and who you've looked up to and you thought it was cool?
Well, you know, I've always been a person that, even although I look up to a lot of celebrities, you know, in life as a younger kid, looking up to celebrities, I always look to the regular people as my real heroes. Like, my grandfather was a guy who worked at a job, you know, he went home, he came home every day to his wife, he put his money on the table, you know, he made sure that his family ate, they had 3 square meals, he was honest, he fixed his own car to save money. He went back to school when he was 72 years old for engineering, and you know, he's passed away since then. But you know, one thing I learned is that it's not about whether or not you're on television or whether or not you're in a movie or you're in a video. It's about how hard you work and how sincere you are about accomplishing the things that are righteous deeds and righteous goals. And your intent good. So for me, he was my hero.
You talk about heroes. You talk about your grandfather being a hero. How important was your family in your career?
I think family for me was a key. There was one point when I was about to quit, right? I didn't want to rap anymore. I told my mother, oh, I'm going to quit. I got all these letters from these different record companies telling me, oh, we can't use your material right now. Sorry, this, that. So I was like, Mom, I'm going to quit. She said, no, you shouldn't quit. You're as good as most of the people on the radio or better than some of them. You should keep going. I said, well, I don't have any equipment. I don't have anything to work on. So she took her tax return and she bought me a little equipment. And that same equipment is the equipment that I used to get my break. So I think family is very important. However, I always say this to kids if they don't have a family. If you're on a plane, and I respect plane crashes, but I'm just making an analogy. If you were on a plane and the plane crashed and you were the only person alive and you had a life vest, would you pop your life vest on purpose and just allow yourself to drown? Or would you try to survive? And that's how life is when you don't have role models around you, or if you don't have a family there to support you. You have to support yourself sometimes. And sometimes you have to look in the mirror and say to yourself, or close your eyes and look inside yourself and say to yourself, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do this.
Oh, I agree with you, definitely.
Now, while growing up, were you ever pressured to do drugs or alcohol?
Of course. I mean, I grew up in Queens. I know a lot of guys in the neighborhood who were getting high, who were drinking, who were doing different things, but I never felt it was necessary. Plus, I was into sports. See, athletics can be a good way out, a good way to stay away from that stuff, because you can't run down the field out of breath, and you don't want to be drunk getting up in the morning with a headache going to a game. So I think between athletics, football, martial arts, gymnastics, and wrestling, and all of that stuff, it kind of keeps you away from that. And that combined with, a strong mind or strong will can make things easy for you. Plus, you got to understand, it's all right for someone not to think you're cool because you're not doing something negative that they want you to do. In other words, it's okay to say, nah, I'm not doing that. Oh, you're mad at me? That's okay. It's all right. Let them be mad. It's okay. It's no problem. It's not going to kill you. What's going to kill you is trying to appease them and ruining your life. You know?
That's so true.
Yeah.
Now, more money will be spent on drugs than on school books this year. This is a terrible thing. What is the solution that you think that maybe can solve some of this drug crisis that we have in America?
You know, that point is, what that means is that there's pain. That means that there's a lot of pain there. That means there are people in America right now who look to drugs as an escape. What are they escaping? We have to figure out what it is that people are escaping through drugs so that we can change whatever it is they're escaping from so that they don't need to escape anymore. You know? That's an economic issue. It's a cultural issue. It's a environmental issue. You know, it goes deeper than just the drugs and the books. You know, there's a mindset that's been set in. There's a sense of hopelessness that exists in certain sections of the country, and it needs to be addressed. You know, it's like cattle, like herding cattle. I mean, if they're unhappy because they don't want to get hit by the cowboy. They don't want to get, they don't want to get prodded. They don't want to get hit with a whip or something. So they run that way. And if we hit them, make them run towards the drugs, that's what they're going to take. You know, so we have to guide people in a positive way. You know, it's hard, but it needs to be done.
Thank you, LL Cool J. May I call you LL?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Been doing it for years.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Cool. All right.